Hey guys, Mike here with StoneCoatCountertops.com. We're here with the Stone Coat team. Everybody say hi. Hello. Yeah, what we're going to do today, we're going to do a fun project. We're going to take this black MDF. We've prepped it with 2 coats of paint and primer in one that we got at Home Depot. It was tinted in the color Broadway. We've done 2 coats. And now what we're going to do is we're going to sand this because the edges are still a little bit rough, and we're going to sand the top and we'll wipe the dust. Let's get started. All right, so what we're going to use in this piece, we're actually going to use some fun additives. We're going to take our Stone Coat countertop epoxy and keep it in clear, okay? And then we're going to add our silver glitter. We're going to add our silver mica flakes. We're going to add our crushed pearl mica flakes, and we're going to add our black glitter. So I think this will be a unique piece. It's going to be a very easy piece because it requires no skill. All we're doing is adding that right into the clear. We're going to trowel it out, chop it, and torch it. Let's see how it comes out. All right, Val, so I'm going to take your bucket. We're going to actually start adding additives, okay? So I'm going to eyeball this. If we were doing this in a kitchen, we'd want to keep track of our recipe so that we can match this, because we're not going to do the whole kitchen at once. We're going to break it up step by step. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and add some of that glitter. We're going to add some of this black glitter, which I really think black and silver glitters are going to look cool together. Okay, there's some black glitter. We got some silver. Let's add our micas. We're going to add silver and crushed pearl. There's about a half a bag, and I'm going to use half a bag in this. All right, Val, go ahead and mix that up. That mixed really easy, didn't it?
Sure did.
It disperses in the epoxy very well. We're going to go ahead and pour this out, and when we pour it out, we're going to do a ribbon right down the center here. All right, let me get that paint stick. Corinne, do you want to scrape all this out right here in that puddle? And you want to keep track of where you're scraping this, because we're going to take that trowel and we're going to mix it into that major pool of epoxy. Boy, this is going to look neat.
Oh my gosh.
Good job. All right, so we'll take that shade. Do you want to come here and we'll just mix that around right there so that it doesn't go unmixed. Yep, just like that. Nice. So when we spread this now, I'm actually gonna spread half of this, and you guys are gonna do the other half. Is that okay? All right, I'll take that trowel and I'll start with the half that's away from us. And now you're going to see my trowel is going to be at an angle. So I'm going to push the epoxy away from me and work it up that way, and then I'll bring it back, okay? So I'm just going to use that epoxy and go away from me. I'm not going to push that over the edge. I'm going to grab it and go away from me again. And I'm going to build up a bead out there in front of me. So now I got that bead, I can go up there and catch that bead and work it back. So I'm going to just run this off the edge just ever so slightly. Just like that, so I don't waste a bunch of epoxy, and I'm just going to work that right down the edge. And that's what this trowel is so good for, is it's going to get a nice even coat along this edge. It's going to get an even coat on the surface. It gauges everything for us, so we're not guessing. See, I'm going to use that, go right down that edge. Now you guys are, now I'm going to I'll go catch this other side. See, I'm using that pool of epoxy to kind of bring it down. I'm going to catch this other side. I'll catch the front here. See, I'm not wasting that big blob of it. Now I'm going to bring this blob, I'll bring this back to you guys so you can use that and work it right down. Go for it. And then make sure you don't leave it behind you. You want it going in front. Perfect. Good job, Patrick. And then don't waste any of it over the edge. because we're going to use it, okay? And a little steeper angle. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Good job. You got it. I love the little tiny glitters intermixed with this large mica. It looks cool. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that blob and I'm going to evenly disperse it across this counter, because we see all the trowel marks? That's because it's picking up pieces of mica. So when we spread mica, it's a little bit different. So I'm going to mow the lawn, but I'm going to leave a lot of this on the surface, okay? So I'm just going to start back here, move everything kind of back, and now I'm just going to quickly mow the lawn with that. Boom, bring that back, start here, mow the lawn again, and then I'll do it a third time. Because I want to leave that epoxy on the surface anyways. We like to use 3 ounces per square foot, and that's exactly what we used in this case. All right, what's next, guys?
Chop it.
That's correct. You guys want to grab a clean brush and chop it out? Prime that first, and we got a little bit of material in here you could prime it on. Yep, de-shed it. That's perfect. So you guys are going to notice on the mica flakes are not going to let it lay out perfect. We have to come in between coats and sand off any high points. And that's totally normal, and it's okay. We're just going to torch out the majority of the bubbles, let it all stick up and poke out. We'll sand it flush and do a clear coat tomorrow. All right, so what we're going to do now, we're going to torch it 2 more times to get all the air out of this surface. Oh, it's just, what do you guys think? When you look into it deep, there's so many different particle sizes and subtle color differences, and I really like it. You guys want to torch it again, and we'll wrap this up? Okay, guys, we're going to let this set up tonight. We're gonna keep the heat up at about 70 degrees. That's ideal. We're going to let it set up. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll sand this with 150 grit, move on to 220, and we'll put on the second clear coat. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Here we go. All right, we're going to sand this with 220 and 150. Let's get going. You got nibs and nubs sticking up on this right now. It's kind of sharp from the mica, and when we sand, it's going to make it just perfect right now. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back. We got this piece sanded. What do you guys think of it sanded?
It's amazing.
It feels great.
Yeah, what we did is, you saw in the other room, we sanded this down with 150 grit, then we changed to 220. And in between that, we addressed the edges. So when you sand the edges, you want to make sure that you degloss those, but on the first coat, you're going to have drips and runs that aren't even, and that's normal. What we're going to do is just get the high points off, and especially when you focus on mica, you have all those mica, I call them the peaks of the icebergs. You're going to have little nibs sticking up that we're going to sand down. You're going to sand those down with 150, move on to 220, and now it's really smooth. Have you guys felt that? I mean, it's just really smooth. You don't have high points. If we did have high points in this, it would show up and transfer in our second clear coat, which is what we don't want. But because we've addressed that, we've sanded our edges, we're going to go ahead and mix up the same amount of material that we used yesterday, but just in clear. We're not going to add any additives. Then we're going to chop it, and we're going to torch it 3 times. We're going to get all that air out, make sure there's no air left, and it'll dry crystal clear. We'll give you some really good close-up shots of what this looks like, but this is how you apply the second clear coat. First thing we're going to do, guys, Val, if you want to mix that up, yeah, and you guys could get this clean, we're going to wipe it down with a paper towel, and we're not going to use any solvents, okay? All we use is just a raw paper towel. You don't need to use a tack cloth or any mineral spirits or acetone. Just wipe off the dust. If there's a little dust on the surface, it's not going to hurt you. The epoxy will go just fine, but we get it pretty dust free. All right, let's get started. I really love how clear immediately the material gets. You can't tell it was sanded, anything like that, just totally disappears. All right, so when you trowel this out, we're going to do it just like we did yesterday. We'll work a bead up to the front, but first really mix where he scraped the bucket, and then we'll spread this sucker out. Now you see how it's like oil on water right now? Yeah. That's because it's really warm, which is good, so be careful how much you whip it, because you'll whip it right off the piece. But that's it. You want this warm when you mix it, and you can see how crystal clear it is. And then what you're going for when you first start troweling this out is long strokes all the way up and down the piece. Perfect. Good job, Patrick. So when I come up to this edge right here, instead of pushing that material off the edge, I'll bring it up right before it goes over the edge. I'm just going to get it right to that edge, and then I'll pull it back with my trowel. And that really helps you control it like that. Same thing with this corner. So I'll push enough epoxy right up to the edge, and then before it starts really flowing over, I can just use that epoxy to coat all the way to my edges. That way I don't miss anything. Now what I'm going to do is just push this bead right over this edge, and you can see I'm pushing enough material to get and coat my edge, but I'm not wasting a bunch because I still need this epoxy to cover the rest of my piece. And that 3 ounces per square foot, it really gives you the right amount of material that you're going to need to get your piece coated, where you're not wasting material, but you're not giving you a shortage of material where your piece won't level out.
Right?
Well, see how you want to overlap. There you go, exactly. Nice, Crane. And then don't push it over the edge. Sweet. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're just going to continually fill this piece up. Now one thing I want to keep in mind, so I'm going to show the camera. My trowel right now is sitting at 1/8 of an inch up. If I take and turn my trowel really steep like this, it's going to put much less material on the surface, and you may not level out. So I don't like to take my trowel more than about that angle right there. You know, about a 45-degree angle, maybe a little taller than that. So once you start getting real steep, you're going to scrape a lot more material off your piece. So as you'll see, when I trowel, I keep it pretty straight up and down, and then I just work that material back to my edge. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to address these edges now. That's where you really just got to not waste your material. I'm going to bring a little bit more over to this edge, and then bring that trowel back. Now I'll bring my puddle, and I'll just bring my puddle right up here to this edge, and coat that edge the same way. Just bring a little bit of epoxy right over that edge, just like that. Boy, it looks good when you start to coat the whole thing. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for any spots that we missed, and then I have a big pool of epoxy sitting on here. So we're going to mow the lawn. We're not going to leave this big puddle because we could have high points. It's going to want to level out. We're just going to get everything even. So I'm going to push this puddle back up to the top of my piece, and then I'll work it back to me and scrape the excess back in my bucket. So let's go ahead and work that puddle right back up the surface. And the nice thing about doing this coat is we're not doing any color effects, no paint, no additives. It's just clear. So we have plenty of time. We don't have to be in a rush, and we're going to get this coated just really, really evenly. All right, so now I got my whole mass of extra epoxy is right here. So now I'm going to work this back to me, and then I'm going to scrape the excess. Where's our used bucket? We're going to scrape the excess back into our used bucket. So let's do that. Is this making sense to you guys? All right, so, and I'm not going to over trowel it. See, some people have a tendency to sit here and scrape like this. What happens is I make this area too thin because I'm overworking the area. So you only want to go over that area one final time with a good amount of epoxy, just like what I'm doing here. This is allowing me to get everything coated very, very evenly. All right, I'm going to bring this corner of my table right over here because I'm going to put the excess right into this bucket. And we're not going to push that excess off all at once. I just work it right into that bucket, just like that. Get this bead right here. All right, so now what we have is we have material not only for our priming our brush, we're going to do the edges, but remember that extra project we have ready for us? That's what we're going to use that clear for. So don't waste all of it. We're going to have fun with it. All right, you guys want to coat those edges and chop the piece out? You just don't want to over chop the same section over and over because you'll pull up the material and you'll keep it shy there. So once you've chopped that area, keep moving on.
Keep it moving.
A lot of people think that they're messing up the piece because it makes it uneven, but don't worry, you got plenty of time where it'll level right back out for us. We've got the edge really smooth, but to get really smooth edges, you want to finish with long strokes. So I'm just going to take this brush and do the entire edge, and then I could even go back and do the edge one more time. Just one long stroke, and then I could do that all around my perimeter. And that just finishes it off really, really nice to give me really good edges. You want to do that front side there? All right, so what's next?
Torch.
That's right, let's torch it out.
You want these brushes or something?
I would just put it on that bucket for now. We got one more project to do with our excess, so.
Anybody want a torch? Good? Torch? All right, let's get it done.
Just keep the torch moving kind of fast until you get that speed down.
After speed's great.
Yep. Maybe a little too fast, but almost perfect. Good. So we'll wait a few minutes and we'll let this subside and we'll come back and torch it again and then we'll torch it a third time. So can you see how there's still some waviness?
Yeah, I see it right in here.
And a lot of people will try to keep torching to get that out and force it out. Just be patient. It'll happen.
Yeah.
It'll come out just like glass. Don't worry. So, boy, look at how deep that is.
It's like a freaking, it's like outer space.
You can't see the Shay. Can you see the sanding scratches anymore?
No.
Gosh darn.
No.
It's a good piece, dude.
Yeah.
It is.
Nice, even.
You ready to rock?
Hey guys, thanks for watching our video on how to use mica and glitter combined into clear epoxy to make this incredible piece. We really hope you enjoyed it. We hope it sparked some ideas and gave you some thoughts on what you might want to do in your own space at home. Visit us anytime at stonecoatcountertops.com, and remember, until next time, you got this from Stone Coat Countertops. We'll see you guys soon. Yay!